that time back to make another video. Hope everybody is doing well. In spite of everything that's going on in this world, sad times, and that's kind of what I popped on here to make a video about. I wasn't gonna, but I just kind of felt compelled to just, I don't know, say what I'm thinking, First of all, I am in a hotel in Arizona, kind of another staycation, but we have other reasons behind it, some family reasons, nothing bad at all, in fact. And so we're here, it's about 7 o'clock at night, and it's still very hot, about 100 and something. It's been in the 110s, 100 teens, for quite some time, but it's Arizona, it's the summer, you expect that. I do have my water though, because my mouth is very dry. Everything gets really dry. Those of you who know, who live in the kind of desert climates. So, sadly, the situation with the police shootings was brought to my attention by a friend in Minnesota. Minnesota is my home state, so I know St. Paul, I know that area very well. And so I started watching and saw it all unfold like you all did. And I kind of wanted to add just what I thought. I've been seeing a lot of the all lives matter, black lives matter, blue lives matter, all that. And I, in my dream world, I wish it would be just not sides, because I truly choose to surround myself by people who would take all lives seriously. With that being said, a lot of you know that this is my final and second marriage to Ari. The first time I was married very young, and my husband he still is, black. And so I lived with the aftermath and what's going on within the black culture and just in society in general for many years. So I just think it's the closest that I can become as a regular white chick to knowing what it feels like. Even though I don't walk in their shoes, I was there with somebody who did on a daily basis. I will also add that 2 of my brothers were police officers, one of them in Minnesota and one of them in Miami, Florida. So I know that side. Police officers are to be respected, wonderful people who don't get paid enough and who risk their lives literally on the daily. So I kind of, my heart's all over the place. And what I'll say is this, I was married very young, like I said, and we were going to college together, so we were struggling. And my college was being paid for, so I didn't have to have, but I chose to have a part-time job, like really part-time, like for most of the time it was 10 to 15 hours a week. My husband at the time, there'll be a whole other story on that, paid for his own. So he full-time school, full-time work. In fact, sometimes it was, 50 hours of work. Took an extra year for him to finish college because he had to work for so long. He's a little bit older than I am, and he started, a couple years before I did, so we kind of graduated around the same time, within 6 months. And so, like many struggling young couples, where we lived, he had a job that was probably 1.5 miles away, and he walked 1.5 miles to work every morning. He got up very early, and he worked this job 16 hours a day, and he did that, 3 days a week sometimes, 2 days a week, 4 days a week. It just kind of depends. So on the days that he was there, he would get up and start walking very early. And I can tell you 4 different instances where he was walking through. You have to kind of walk through a small town. If anybody's familiar with Minnesota. It was in Burnsville, and he worked in Savage, so he would have to walk down under that Billy Goat Bridge, if you know where that is. Okay, I'm back. Yes, when you get a phone call and it kind of stops your filming. Anyways, so he would, I was saying that he would walk to work very early in the morning. It was before dark when he would leave a lot of the times. And we didn't have a car at that moment. Well, we had a car, it was my car. He didn't have a car at that time. Very young. And very much on a very limited budget, especially with him having to pay for his own school. So 4 different times he was, with his job, it was fabricating these concrete walls. They would have a system to where if you were late, you got what's called an occurrence, and so many occurrences would give you kind of a strike, and then you could lose your job. And he didn't want to. He was being paid, you know, pretty well for somebody so young. And anyways, so he would walk to work, and on 4 different times he was stopped by the police officers saying that he met the match of somebody in the area that was robbing or that was causing problems. It was always, we're asking who you are, you're meeting the criteria of somebody, etc. Every single time, you know, it wasn't him. I mean, he had a clean record, but every single time he was made late for work and got an occurrence, and it was just a major hassle, and it was embarrassment, and it was knocks you down, and, you know, everything like that. My mom had called a couple of different times to see if that was in fact the case, and she got the runaround, but finally got the information that no, there was nobody that they're looking for. And we knew the drill, what was up, that they just wanted to see who he was, because it's a very white town, and he was black, and he was walking, and it was dark, you know, and there was nothing wrong, so he was let go. But that's just one instance, you know, of many, of walking through the mall, and he was always the one. And he didn't, you know, it's funny because in our relationship, I was the one, I'll tell you more about him later in a video, but he grew up a Jehovah's Witness, so they're very religious. He liked major rock music. You know, he didn't fit the stereotypical black American, and he likes being called black. He doesn't like being called African American. In fact, most of the black people that I know like being called black and not African American. So I will call him that, although I just call him a man. He's just a man to me. So, anyways, let me take a step. So many times we would walk through a mall and he would be stopped, you know, to check his bag, and something that has never happened to me, anybody that I've been with, happened to him. Other things were when he did finally get a car, you know, a taillight would be out or something minor, and they would pull him over. And I can't tell you how many times my brother, they were younger, driving without insurance for years, driving with something that they shouldn't be or anything like that for years, and never once being pulled over. Never once. But my ex was pulled over many times, and he was squeaky clean, never anything wrong. Whenever he was approached by the police, cooperation, and they always ended up liking him. Always. And after that, treated him very nice. There wasn't anything after that. It was just constantly being stopped. Constantly. So if you hear stories about that happening, it's just not being made up. It's the truth. And living with that, it was always a heartbreak, because it always is something, you know, like, why me? You know, when he was young, and it's never easy. It's never something where you're just like, get used to it. It's sad where black families have to have the talk about if you're pulled over by the police or if you're questioned, you should act a certain way. It's sad that that happens, you know? And there is a difference. There's a big time difference. I'm not saying that, you know, in my head, I understand the police side too. They're used to dealing with a very negative side of the population, you know, people who are breaking the law. So in their heads, they have built up this stereotype, and you can't argue with it. It's in every police officer that I know. Now, if they're brand new, it's not there yet, but inevitably they all leave there with that. Not saying, well, read the stats, you got this. All I'm saying is that if the stats were added in there of the white people who just never get stopped, so they never get caught, it'd be a lot different. White people just don't get stopped. My brothers, you know, younger, not saying that they're derelicts or anything like that, you pulled them over, they would have been taken away because of, you know, unpaid tickets or a little, you know, just something. And my ex, who was just clean, you know, he went so far as, I love the Minnesota Vikings, but him growing up a Jehovah's Witness, they couldn't have sports or anything like that as being, that was seen as being called worldly. So he didn't have that. So we had a checking account that had the Vikings on it, and he didn't like that. He didn't like being stereotyped. He didn't want to be you know, meaning, oh, this is your account, you know, your wife can't like it, it's got to be you who likes it. I was the one who liked rap, he liked heavy metal. He was against every stereotype that there was. And for a long time, yeah, it was, you know, he says it was hating who you were, your color of your skin, because of how you were treated. And a lot of things have gotten better as far as, you know, they have the, you don't have to play with blonde little dolls now. You can have your own dolls. You can have more pride in who you are. As he said, it's now kind of be seen as cool to be black or anything like that. But it is different. It's different. And I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer. I just wanted to come on and share my side of the story, my side of what I experienced, and let you know that, just to, you know, to me, if people do videos about all lives matter, perception is reality, and you perceive that, you know, all cops are bad, and you perceive this because of what your life experience is and what you've gone through growing up. And the white people out there may know that they don't feel that in their hearts. But you have to understand, perception is reality. So it's hard. Just maybe we could take a step back. It's not saying let people just, you know, the Black Panthers, who I can't stand, my ex couldn't stand them either, them or, you know, Al Sharpton or anybody else. I mean, we were all like the Martin Luther King, not with him, we weren't even born, but that sort of a way, judge not on the color of your skin, but the character in which you are. But it seems to have gotten lost. And maybe, just maybe, if we stop the side playing, we could go back to that again. Now, it's easier for the people who are seen as, who are the ones not getting stopped, to back away. What do we, whatever, have to lose by giving more compassion, by dropping the hashtag all lives matter? What do we have to lose by doing that? What do we have to lose by just joining it and saying, not like but, you know, Black Lives Matter, but so do all lives. Just join and say Black lives do matter. You know, I can honestly tell you that I truly respect police officers. I truly do. But I believe that there should be a lot more programs to stop the racial profiling. Because like I said, and even just the friends that I have, if they were pulled over as much, they would be taken away because there'd be stuff on there that you'd find. And that's all That's all that I wanted to say. I don't know if it helped anybody, but my heart, I just pray for all those involved. I pray for all those involved. I truly do. I don't know if it's at a point in my life where it's like I'm premenopausal or anything. I had a hysterectomy, but they left the eggs. TMI? I'm not sure. So I don't know if that's it, but I've always been a very emotional person, wearing my heart on my sleeve. But as of recent past months, I've really felt things. Like the empathy I feel is just so extreme. And I have talked about that with my therapist is my grief counselor that I got when my father passed away. And, you know, it's all good. It's all just part of who I am. And anyways, I don't know why I had to have that. But my point is that take a step back and just don't play the side game. It's easier for the ones who are not getting pulled over or stopped to reach out your hand than it is for a hand that has been kicked when down to reach out their hand. So with that being said, I hope you live your most glamorous life that you possibly can, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.